I'm 56. I'm not on any medication. I think good hair, good nails, good teeth are a sign of health. I do video myself doing cartwheels or at the gym too. So, it's funny because somebody asked, why do you do those cartwheels? Is it just because they're fun? And I answered.
Do you just want to start by giving a little background on who you are and how did you first start eating carnivore? You're kind of a veteran in the carnivore lifestyle space. So who are you and how did you start eating this way?
So, well, I really struggled pretty much all of my life with sugar and carb addiction, not really kind of realizing I had a sugar and carb addiction because I didn't think there was such a thing. I never actually would have any idea that you could possibly be actually addicted to that stuff. But it ended up, I struggled with just a very, very long road of trying to figure out how to stop binging and being addicted to this stuff, and always struggled with my weight. Since I was a little kid, I was, chubby as a kid. My parents are overweight and diabetic. My brother's overweight and diabetic. Actually, all of them are the obese category. And I was so really obsessed with getting on the scale and trying to lose weight. And it was just a long struggle, and I could not figure out how to get out from under it. And then I just really went through just the cycle of different diets, and everybody's heard of Atkins and possibly done Atkins, but I ended up online in 2009 just searching for some sort of solution to eating disorders, and I found this group, Zeroing In on Health, and it was just life-changing for me because there was women on there who were openly talking about their eating disorder and how it really was totally resolved from eating zero carb. It was called zero carb at the time. We didn't call it carnivore. And that was it for me. March 9th of 2009, I jumped in. I was like, wow, okay. And then I thought, well, geez, this can't be healthy, can it? So I just kept doing it and also researching it at the same time. And I was just so elated. I wanted to shout it from the rooftops and try to get the word out to people that how amazing I felt and how it resolved my issues. And then I was in this group of all these other people who resolved their problems, whether it was depression and anxiety, diabetes, high blood pressure, infertility. I mean, you name it, all sorts of people from all sorts of all walks of life were there. And yeah, I never looked back because as I did it more, and was feeling amazing, I said to myself, as I continued to read and listen and watch and absorb as much as I could, I was like, wow, not only is this like friggin' amazing, but it's actually what, in my opinion, ended up being the healthiest way to eat and nourish your body. And it's really the ancestral way of eating. And it's not so restrictive and it's not so bizarre when you think about this is the way man ate for millions of years. He hunted animals and ate them. And really what's freaky and unusual is if ancestral man looked at life today and saw all these concoctions of everything that was manufactured by these companies and then eaten by all us humans out here. But I don't look at it as restrictive because I look at it as the optimal way to eat. And like I said, I just never look back after once I saw enough people also doing it and succeeding with it. And then I just want, I wish the same for everybody as far as anybody who was, suffering from anything. I started talking about it, and there were certain people who were at that point in their life where they listened and changed their life. And it's kind of been snowballing now to the point where I kind of just came into this social media circle about a year and a half ago because I just kind of stayed quiet for a decade, probably about 10 years, because you know what? Nobody really wants to hear about it as far as, if they don't have an issue themselves, they look at it like, what do you mean you don't eat fruit? What do you mean you don't eat vegetable? That's not healthy. What about your heart? What about your cholesterol? And it was just too tiring to try to make an impact. So I just went about living my life. And then as this whole, I don't call it, sort of like a revolution of keto and carnivore has come about, I said, you know what, I kind of feel like I started seeing so many people write like, well, that's fine for the short term, but it's not sustainable and nobody can really do this long term and be healthy. And I was like, yeah, here I am. And so I said, you know what, let me jump in. As much as it's not always easy sharing your personal struggles, but I just decided, if I can help one person who has struggled the same struggle I have, and then also, and not necessarily just my specific issue, but somebody else coming to this with, let's say, severe arthritis or depression or multiple sclerosis or psoriasis and eczema, whatever the malady is, like, even if I could be that representative of someone who actually is living this life. And, I say, I'm in, what is perfect health? I don't know. I'm 56. I'm not on any medication. I think good hair, good nails, good teeth are a sign of health. I don't know what more, I could be as a representative as far as, yeah, it's just so, it's almost, sometimes I look at it and I say, wow, I am so fortunate that I found it when I did. I looked at it like, God, I can't even believe I was like upset that I hadn't found it earlier. Like, wow, what if I had found this 10 years earlier? I would have had 10 less years of suffering. And wow, I wish I had found this earlier. And then it's so interesting because now I'm at the point where I hear so many people say that very same thing to me right now. They're like, I've been doing this for 10 months and oh my gosh, if I had only found this. And I'm thinking, wow, here I am. I found this 12 years ago. So yeah, now I'm the fortunate one, but back then every single one of us was like, man, if we had only known about this earlier, Yeah. So that's really pretty much my background. I've been an optometric physician for the past 30 years. I do really try to help as many patients as I can who come to me who are diabetic and have diabetic retinopathy, people have macular degeneration, people have a lot of anterior segment blepharitis, dry eye disease, even glaucoma. I have people writing into me saying that they were borderline glaucoma and they're going back and finding out that it's improved now with this. So I'm in a really pretty unique position to at least to a certain extent for what I feel is extremely helpful. And diet is everything for every part of your body. So so it's just I so enjoy it because it's my passion. And I feel like if I can help anybody and everybody I can, I want to, because of how much it's changed my life. So that's, I've been coaching people for about probably 11 of the 12 years now. And I get so much out of it because I feel it's so important for people to hear from somebody who has been walking the walk for so long, to understand like how to navigate it and what you go through. And now, so I'll get onto the part that of, just having recently gone through menopause. I know if you have viewers who are at that stage, it does get tougher to keep weight off, and it does get tougher to lose weight. And I've had to tweak some things and modify some things because I used to just, as much as I want, ate until I was full of whatever, meats that I wanted. And just gradually and slowly as we age, it does change, just between the hormones, the sleep issues. So there's little tweaks like that I've been kind of just playing around with because I just want to stay lean and active. And I look at the future. I mean, here I am 56. I'm thinking, I got a good 40 years left. I want to be able to keep doing cartwheels on the beach. So if anybody's seen my Instagram account, that anytime I'm on the beach, I do video myself doing cartwheels, or at the gym too. So, it's funny because somebody asked, why do you do those cartwheels? Is it just because they're fun? And I answered, yeah, they are a lot of fun, but to me, in an interesting way, it just sort of represents my ability to really keep up with being strong, being in balance, and being agile, which you want for everything in life as far as movement and lowering your risk of falling as you age. And it's so important to keep up your strength, because every single, women really pretty much 35 and older, our muscles start to decrease. It's called sarcopenia. And unless we are actively engaged in trying to strengthen them and build them up, they will diminish. And that just doesn't lead to anywhere good when you want to stay really active and, be able to have adventure way into your late retirement.
Yeah. I'm sure doing your cartwheels too, it just makes you feel more youthful too. We always are like trying, like Christmas makes us feel more youthful, and then cartwheels makes us feel more youthful.
Yeah, they're fun. They're absolutely fun. And I do some jump rope. I'm learning to do the crossovers and tricks, and I pretty much, what's so wonderful at this point for me is I can really do whatever I set my mind to. I mean, I'm kind of on a process of thinking maybe I'm going to climb a mountain.
Awesome.
So we'll see.
That's awesome. So what is a typical day of eating then for you? If you've changed in the past, and then now are you eating more chicken or more beef or more steaks, or
I still eat quite a bit of beef, but not on a daily basis where I used to on a daily basis. And just paying more attention to the fact that I can't sit there and eat an entire slab of ribs, because bottom line is there's just too many calories if I eat 2 meals a day of, pound and a half of ribeye and a slab of ribs. It's just more than what my body needs. So it's coming to that realization. And so I mix things in, like I mix in some pork tenderloin and shrimp and scallops and ham and some egg whites, just to try to be a little bit leaner. And it's really working and helping. So I might do that 2 days in a row, and then I'll have, a day of ground beef and ribeye. So I change it up just because I think it's optimal to switch things up and not just stay so consistent in one way. But yeah, it's really been cutting out cheese. Cheese is like one of my, oh God, I have this love-hate relationship with cheese. Because, through the years, I'm trying to figure it out in general with people who I coach and with myself that, there's plenty of scientific documents that cheese does have an addictive component to it. So there's that, and I can certainly warm up and melt and ooey gooey the cheese and just eat it with a fork. And it can be dangerous. Or the fried cheese, the halloumi cheese. I mean, yeah, and really, it's just a way of it being, a fat packed, high calorie, food item that I would eat, let's say liberally. And so now I try to very much limit it. And I'll just put like a little punch of feta cheese in with some ground chicken for a meal. Or if I'm out at a restaurant and I'll order a burger, a bacon cheddar burger, and I let myself kind of do that kind of thing. But I no longer will, have a brick of cheese and cut away at it, because that's dangerous. Or a whole wheel of brie. I mean, that does nowhere fast. So yeah. So that, pretty much I change it up. But I have been, my latest experiment over the past couple months is really just paying attention, really literally, to the amount of calories I'm taking in and the amount of fat, and the easiest way to reduce the calories. And I hate to say like, oh, count calories, get your tracker out and track things, because all these years I never tracked anything, and it's been wonderful. But the bottom line is it really does matter, between how many calories you burn versus how many calories you take in. So I tell people, like, even if you track for a month or two, you'll get a really, really good idea very quickly, the gist of how much you're eating, and if that amount is causing you to not lose weight to gain weight or to lose it. I mean, you have to kind of get a ballpark idea. I mean, without that information, information is knowledge. It really is helpful. So, yeah.
That makes me ask, do you take any supplements or minerals or?
Yeah. So no, I have not taken anything, through this whole like 12 and a half years, really. I have not taken vitamins, supplements, no zinc, no magnesium, no vitamin C, nothing. I also, through all these years, I personally do not like liver, and I don't eat it. And way back 12 years ago, when we're all chatting and, writing in our journals, nobody's saying like, ooh, got to eat liver every week. Oh, what, did you have your kidney or spleen or heart? I mean, you're eating organs, right? Like nobody is talking about that at all. And none of us liked it. We did talk about it or mention it. And most of us were just like, yeah, I don't like it. I don't eat it. I believe Joe and Charlene Anderson, who have now been doing this over 20 years, I believe they literally only eat ribeye and water. So I just, and again, everybody, I guess, is different. You can say that, but my own N=1 experiment is I feel fine. I'm in perfect health. I mean, what am I deficient in by not eating liver once a week? I just don't feel, I honestly feel like I don't feel like I could feel any better. So why would I put myself through eating something I have to gag down? And then I get it. You can buy desiccated liver. You can cube it up and put it in the freezer and then toss it down like a pill. And I get it. But I'm, I think a lot of my philosophy going through this is just keep it so simple, because simple is sustainable. And I also will say often, just think back to ancestral man. They go out, they kill this beast, drag it back to the village of people, right? And everybody's going to feast on it. There's only one liver in that sucker, right? So how many people are actually getting any of it to begin with, and enough of it that they're eating it each day? I don't think so. And so I just say, you know what, it just doesn't make sense to me. And there is some writings, I think, I'm trying to think if it was Wilhelm Stephenson, they were talking about how when there was a kill, they would toss the organs to the dogs. Like they weren't going to eat it. They would toss it to the dogs. So I don't, but then you'll hear different people talk about how they went to this, primal tribe, and it was treasured, the liver and the brain and all this stuff. And it was the treasure. And, and I was like, cool, go treasure that all you want. I'm going to sit over here and eat the ribeye. Okay. I'm good. Yeah. So that, I mean, I'm asked that question so often about the organs, because I think people really start to overthink it and fret about it, and then spend hundreds of dollars on, this stuff. And I get it, and I know, I think you sprinkle some of that stuff on there, and, cool. I mean, I know it's nutritious, so it's not hurting you. I just don't feel the need myself to purchase this stuff and put it in my meals. And then I always like to come back to this thought of, like, really think about this. So you're eating, let's say, your standard American diet, and everybody's done it. It's, pizza and nachos and pasta and cake and cookies and ice cream and chips and French fries and, the typical, whatever, we'll just call it garbage standard American diet, processed food, right? Nobody is worried about the organs then, right? Nobody's going, wait, we got to get our desiccated organs. Wait, where do I buy that? Oh, wait, I'm going to start trying to cook. Wait, I got to get a recipe for liver, right? Like nobody's worried about eating organs, spleen and heart and liver, right? Yeah. Now, all of a sudden, when you learn about this optimal way to eat, you eliminate the sugars, you eliminate the seed oils, you eliminate the grains, the flours, the chips, the pasta, the rice, you eliminate the processed food. So you're really down to a really healthy diet. And now all of a sudden people are freaking out. Should I eat organs? Do I have to eat organs? How much organs do I have to eat? Right? Meanwhile, you've just switched to such like a umpteenth level better of diet that you were eating. And now you're fretting about the organs, right?
Yep.
Now, all of a sudden you need them. You need them now. Pretty much you really needed them back then when you were eating the pasta and all that other crap. So now why it's just, you know, and maybe I'm looking at this from the wrong, you know, angle, and that I should just say, well, you know, I guess once you start saying, okay, now I'm eating healthy, now I really want to do it right.
Yeah.
But I think people start overthinking and worrying too much. And realistically, you know, it's, you know, in my opinion, just from my experience, it's not necessary. So
that's
my take on organs. I know it was a long tangent on the whole organ thing, but I get fired up about it because I just think there's so many of us long-term veterans who haven't touched organs because we really don't like it. I mean, I have to admit, when this whole liver frenzy came out, I was like, all right, oh, I see this chicken calves liver pate recipe with lots of bacon. I was like, all right, let me see about this. And, you know, I bought some chicken liver, and then I actually cooked up like a half a pound of bacon and like 4 hard-boiled eggs. And I put the chicken livers and butter and bacon fat and the hard-boiled eggs to try to cut the flavor so it didn't taste so much like liver, and pulverized that. And it actually was pretty good. I even put some spices in it. I looked up recipes for liverwurst because I used to kind of like liverwurst. So I was like, well, let me figure out what spice they put in that. And so yeah, I went with it for a batch of that. And then I was like, it's okay. I don't know if I really want to bother making it again.
Yeah.
And I didn't feel any different. What am I supposed to feel? Right. So that just went by the wayside.
Yeah, that you're so right when you talk about when people have all these, like, in the past, I was eating like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich every day, and nobody ever questioned, like, where's your vitamin C? Where's the potassium? I get questions all the time on like all these different minerals and vitamins. And I'm like, I never even thought about this or considered this like before, and nobody even questioned it. And same thing with like, I'm sure people ask you, don't you ever get tired of eating the same foods every day? And I used to literally eat like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich every day. And nobody thought that was weird. Nobody questioned it.
Right.
But the other question I get a lot too, and I dodge this question because I don't see how what mine is relates to anybody else's, but I understand that people want to just like have a baseline or know they're not going to die. But can I ask you, have you ever had your blood work done?
Yeah, sure. So I'm asked that quite a bit, mainly just to see, well, somebody who's done this 12 years, let's see how screwed up your blood work is. Yeah, no. So at the beginning, of course, being a medical professional and doing this really what I call the fly your freak flag diet, I said, I better get my blood work done. And I did it, you know, each year. And every year it was perfect, like 5-6 years in a row. And then I just got to the point where I was like, all right, I'm kind of done. It was interesting because on the journals with Charles Washington and myself and Dana, it's like, I really have no use for the medical profession because they are trained to diagnose based on your symptoms and write a prescription, because the med schools are funded by pharmaceutical companies. They're not given any sort of nutritional education, nor would they be given an ancestral nutritional education. It would be based on, they actually do have the only nutrition courses, from what I've heard and understand from talking to specific medical professionals, is the nutrition that is required if somebody needs a feeding tube and, you know, percentages of fat and protein that's, you know, put down those tubes and things like that. But they're not at all educated on the proper way to nourish a body so that it doesn't get sick in the first place. So I really, so yeah, my cholesterol and triglycerides were all fine. My glucose is perfect. And that's what I was concerned, having 2 diabetic parents and a type 1 diabetic brother. And my parents were both type 2. I was really cautious because there was a point before I came to this that I was getting marginal A1C numbers. And I thought, oh boy, I'm really headed back down the wrong path fast here. And so, yeah, I was so happy that my blood work kept coming out good. My triglycerides were like 35 or 40. My total cholesterol is like 190, 195. And then understanding as time goes on, it's really in the ratio. You want your triglycerides really to be under 75. You want your HDL to be over 75. There's some, and then the ratio, and it's pretty simple. And it's really understanding. And I have all sorts of links that I end up sending, like the people I coach or people that DM me on Instagram, I will send. I have some really good articles about why on an all meat diet you can't really solely pay attention to the doctor wanting to write you a script for a statin, because it's either out of context, or you stay carnivore long enough and your body is going to heal. And also, if you're dropping weight and dropping fat, it's going to temporarily affect your numbers to not really look favorable. But there's a lot of information out there, and I know it comes from people who are questioning it based on where we are all so brainwashed by the media, and they're funded by the healthcare industry, who profits from everybody being sick, the pharmaceutical industry, who profits from everybody being sick, and the food industry, who profits by, making everybody addicted to their garbage food. So it's a tough road. It's a tough battle being a coach or being a representative of this, because so many people come and bombard you with, that can't be healthy. What do you mean you don't eat vegetables? What about the antioxidants that you need? What about all the, great. Yeah. And I said, I just answer, I say, every single vitamin, mineral, and nutrient you need and I need is found in meat and fat. And there's no need to eat anything else. The carbohydrate is not essential at all. And I just really, for me, nobody can dispute the fact when you say, I feel so great eating this way. I don't want to eat any other way. And I'm in perfect health. So unless that changes my own personal experience with this, I have no reason to have to start, believing, the food pyramid says that I have to eat the rainbow and all that. I got plenty of the rainbow. I eat, white fish, red tuna, ribeye steak. They're beautiful colors.
Salmon, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm sure people ask you this all the time then too. Do you ever have a cheat day?
Yeah. So I feel I come from a different angle with that. And sometimes I have to sort of step back and say, you know what, I have to remember who I'm talking to. Not everybody's walked the walk that I have, but for me, it's no different than like an alcoholic saying, I want to cheat weekend. I want to have, a bottle of wine this weekend. There's no such thing as that, because there's no moderation. It's abstinence. That's where I come from. It has to be abstinence, or else it's just down a really bad slippery slope. And I feel like there's a lot of people, if people come to this for weight loss and health reasons, a lot of it has to do with being drawn and addicted back to those cheap foods, and I think that's a lot of why, from my view looking at, I never did keto because I guess, hurdled right over it, because I missed that whole kind of thing by having found zeroing in on health and zero carb. But I see so many people get to a certain level on keto, and either they just plateau or they go in the other direction. And I find that so many people get hooked on those keto desserts and keto treats and keto ice cream. And it's people trying to gravitate back to the foods that are comfort foods. And I get it. I mean, I totally get it. And it's very difficult, especially when you're in family situations and, social situations, or you're home alone and you're feeling either stressed or angry, or, have anxiety, or whatever it is that draws you back to that comfort food. And it's very hard, because I tell people you have to have a different outlet than the food. And it has to be like putting on a headset, listening to music, go for a walk, listen to a podcast about food addiction. It has to come from understanding that that food is so inflammatory and damaging to your body that you no longer want to put it in your body, as opposed to just struggling with yourself, fighting yourself to not, not be drawn to it and not eat it. It has to come from a feeling of, I understand how really powerful food is and how addictive it is and how much eating the wrong foods is going to cause ill health. So what am I doing by having a cheat day? I'm cheating myself. I'm cheating my health. Why am I going to do that? And just really kind of thinking it out that way. I know it's hard, and I don't mean to make it so simple, because I get it. It's like people are just like, and I have to be the first to admit, I mean, I used to love pizza, love ice cream. I mean, all of that, but I think it really just has to come from a gradual learning and understanding that it's really, you almost look at it as if it's really not even food anymore. It's processed. Anything that's made or processed into something else, like, I mean, just to have flour to make a crust for pizza, it's processed, and it is just so important that if you are the type of person that keeps going back to cheat days, it's just a bad roller coaster. And you spend all week then saying, oh, I'm doing so well. I'm doing so well. And then what are you doing? Treating yourself at the end of the week with pizza, or treating, what it almost is like it's sabotaging all that you just did. And it's just putting you on this hamster wheel of misery. And in my opinion, I don't know. I say, whatever works for you. If it works and you're doing well with it, then that's great. I just never found somebody who could continually keep control of these cheat meals, because then the cheat meals become cheat weekends. And then next thing you know, after that weekend, oh, well, I have this on Wednesday and we're going out. And all of a sudden it's like, well, and then it just becomes a big gray area. And now it's like, okay, Monday, going to start the diet again. And that's just like I said, it's just a bad roller coaster to be on. And unless you decide it's worth it and you're worth it to get off the roller coaster, then you'll keep doing it. And like I said, if you're in good health and you're at your ideal weight and you can get away with it, then heck, I would probably do it too. But it doesn't work for me at all. It's like I tell people, it's literally a similar effect of like having a relapse of an alcoholic. It's just really, it goes nowhere good fast.
Yeah, I say that too, that I look at those foods now and I'm like, those aren't food.
It's really not. It's amazing, even just walking into a grocery store and the aisles and aisles and aisles of box and bag and jar and bottle. And I tell people, some of my patients will say something like, they go, you look younger every time I come in here. I've been coming to you for the past 20 years. And what do you do? What do you do? And I said, here's the key. Don't eat anything that comes in a box, a bag, a jar, or a bottle. Like, I said, that's the step one of really being healthy is getting out of your head that you're going to purchase anything that's really from a company.
Yeah. So I understand these, the chips, the cookies, the donuts, those things, but what about for you with like fruits and vegetables, like a one real whole natural food? And you're saying in 12 years, you have never been like, okay, I'll have some celery or something.
Yes. Yeah, it wasn't celery. But yeah, if I'll say if I'm at a restaurant, let's say I'm just at a diner for lunch with a friend, and there's like a small dill pickle sliced up next to my plain burger with the bacon and the cheddar on it. Yeah, I will sometimes pick at the pickle. I'm trying to think. Or if I'm served, I often will get at a really nice restaurant as an appetizer, like a tuna tartare that comes in like a form, right? And then it has a layer of avocado on the bottom, and then it's the raw chopped tuna. And yeah, I will pick out a little of the avocado. But it's not something that I purchase and put in my fridge at home and eat on a regular basis. Might I? I think I might if I felt like there was some sort of need to want the variety, or And if I did, it would probably be something like sauerkraut or pickle, like a vinegar type food. Cause I do think there is something to be said for apple cider vinegar. Any different types of vinegars are really good for stabilizing your insulin. I mean, I know Ben Bickman talks a lot about that and has like a couple tablespoons of vinegar in his seltzer during the day for just that reason. Yeah, for me, I just kind of feel like life is so simple and so good. At this point, I just don't really feel a need or desire to add to it, but so I'm totally not dogmatic on it. And I will freely say, yeah, I have had baby gherkin pickles, you know?
Yeah. I guess I know you're getting close on time, but just, we'll see how fast you can answer them. But how long, you've been doing this for 12 years? This is the question everybody asks. How long should someone eat this way? And is there a point where you would tell someone like, oh, if you want to add more variety, fruits, vegetables, or whatever, it might be beneficial? Or I mean, I don't know if you've ever heard of people say that the more variety you have in your gut, the longer you'll live. But obviously that doesn't, who really knows? So what do you?
Right. Yeah. So as far as that goes, when I tell people, because I actually say this when I'm coaching people, I say, give me 90 days. Let's start with 90 and let's, go from there. And I said, don't think of this as forever. Let's think of this. If you do amazing after your 90 days and we get you through that and we tweak things and we work it so that it feels very sustainable for you, we keep going until you're off all your medications and you're at your ideal lean body weight and feeling good and feeling happy. And when you're there, then say, all right, you know what? I love avocado. So we introduce avocados and you introduce that for the next month. And then you might say, I love salads. And so, have at it. Let's see what you can do. If you want to, I think that I don't think it's necessary. I don't think obviously there's no studies done on longevity of people who stay strict carnivore versus somebody who adds some variety. And what are we adding in variety? I know, I guess Paul Saladino talks about honey and some fruits, because fruit being the part of the plant that is intended to be, let's say, eaten by animals and then crapped out so it spreads the seed, so it propagates the plant. So that's like one of the least toxic things to be able to eat. But for me, fruit's out of the question because the taste of sweet, I mean, probably go crazy if I ate a mango. So yeah, I'm not dogmatic about it. I feel like if you're off your meds and healthy and you're able to, tolerate things, there's certain things that I'm thinking I wouldn't eat, just knowing, like nuts, they're inflammatory, they're high in omega-6, I just don't think they're a health food. Spinach is high in oxalates. I certainly wouldn't be adding in a spinach salad every day. So it would come down to if somebody is really in dire need of some variety and it's just really, kind of, I don't know. I think most people who eat this way and feel the benefits of it, just it wouldn't matter if I ate ribeye for the rest of my life. It's delicious. When you get hungry enough, a steak tastes so amazing. You just don't get bored of feeling good.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think you're so spot on with all this too, because I run through the list too. I'm like, okay, if I were to have sometimes I'll have some fruits or some vegetables, but I have to be so particular about it. I'm like, well, I'm not having broccoli. I'm not having Brussels sprouts. I'm not having cauliflower. It's like you start running through like, nope. And it's like, okay, so now I'm adding in variety and have like 3 different options. Like, so I get where your head's at too, where you run through the list of like, is it actually that much more beneficial? We tried purposely going to the grocery store to like find black olives, and we found some, but it was like the price for like how much nutrition or benefit we were going to get. We're like, well, why are we going to spend $5 on a can of black olives when I could just go spend $5 on a pound of beef?
Right. Yeah, that's true. And I just think that it's there's so much variety just in this, between shrimp and scallops and salmon and pork ribs and kibasi and flap steak and New York strip and ground beef and ground lamb and leg of lamb and pot roast and pork butt. And You know, you could go on and on. I could eat something different every day of the week for a month and literally be carnivore and be satisfied. I feel like most of us just tend to, just like anything, you just tend to what's easy and tastes good, that is, and you know, cost effective. So I just think like it's hard to verbalize it to anybody who, let's say anybody who's watching, who's sort of just maybe thinking about doing this kind of thing and not so sure about it. It's like, just jump in and do it and try it. And I say, give it 90 days. You just, I know 90 days seems like a long time, but really in a lifespan, you will learn so much out of that 90 days of just doing this, that it's well worth it. And I think if you don't give it a try, and you're suffering from anything or on medications, that you're shortchanging yourself, because it literally can change your life.
Absolutely. And even still, with even less than 90 days, I've had people say, I've been doing this for 2 weeks and I've had this. I'm like, really? In that short of time? But you know, when you change, you need to start eating healthier. It can change fast when you start feeding your body the right fuel.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for all this information. I've been looking forward to talking to you for so long. So I really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. And like I said, I am so passionate to help as many as I can. And if anybody watching wants to get in touch with me, the best place, I do have a YouTube channel, but that's sort of taken a little back burner for the time being, just because I've been a little overwhelmed, just kind of getting this whole thing going. But the best way to reach me is over at Instagram at Carnivore Doctor. And I'm really good about answering all my DMs. And, you know, if you're interested in coaching, you can just DM me over there and I'll get you the information. I try to post over there what I eat on vacation, what I ate last weekend when I was at my little family thing, what I eat when I go out to dinner with friends. I just kind of try to keep it real and just show people my kind of like everyday life. I kind of video when I'm at the gym. Yeah, that's it.